All right, welcome back to Rob Schmidt Tonight. A man working for in North Carolina, I should say, for a marketing agency, claims that he was fired for being a gay conservative. Matt Gleason wrote this op-ed in an online publication called Outspoken. He joins us now to talk about this story. Mac, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me this evening.
Yeah, so you used to work in marketing in the beverage industry. In the op-ed, you describe how during the pandemic you became a conservative, which I want to hear how that happened too. You posted your opinions on social media. Pick up the story from there. Just kind of tell us what all happened here.
Yeah, I'd say before the pandemic hit, I was pretty apolitical with things.
Okay.
And just noticing the sensationalism with the COVID claims and what's going on with the pandemic and the racial injustices, it allowed me to have some time to really take a step back and see where I stood and where my values were. And I really noticed that I was leaning more conservative than I would have ever imagined before. Some of the things that I thought about our former president to be true, I discovered weren't. So all these ideas I had in my head were quickly being dismantled, and I found myself agreeing with more conservative viewpoints.
So you like everybody else, had to listen to CNN for 4 years, talk about Trump and say all this ridiculous stuff that most of it was complete nonsense and exploited obviously for ratings and they had an agenda. They wanted to get rid of him, obviously. And then you kind of changed your mind and you say that a liberal, straight woman fired you. You haven't named the company, but I mean, just kind of give us, the defense of that claim, because I mean, obviously they're going to say that they didn't do that.
Right. So it wasn't that the liberal woman fired me, but she definitely had influence in the decision that was made. You know, before when they assumed that since I was gay, that my ideas would fall in line with more liberal ideology, I was always celebrated in the company. And I'm, part of the LGBTQ community and top performer and always growing share in my market. But the minute I became to more conservative and speak my mind, all those things dropped as well. And I'm suddenly racist and have internalized homophobia. So the fact that what I was now speaking on didn't align with what she thought I once was, she went and slandered my name, talked to HR, talked to all these people actually in, decision-making roles,
right.
Which led to my termination. And HR, all they had to tell me was that I was no longer a good fit for the role. Even when pushing for further clarification, that's as vague as they would be with it.
Do you have, is there any kind of recourse that you can do?
I work in an at-will state, so that protects them pretty well as far as, he just wasn't performing or whatever it may be. But I think as this story grows in tension.
Yeah, were you being how outspoken were you being? I mean, it seems to me, I know there's some crazy people right now, but it seems to me that that's a pretty bold move to just throw somebody out. Were you making some very conservative comments at work, or was it just online? What was it?
So we don't even have an actual office space. So it was definitely social media driven, and it was definitely personal attack, not any, professional merits. Whereas the same person who went and slandered my name on their social feed would condone murder or say anyone who voted for Trump deserves a lobotomy, things that are very outrageous that I didn't even touch anything like that. So it's pretty surprising to me that those people still hold their positions and I'm here unemployed now.
What a story. Well, I tell you what, I wouldn't want to work for that lady anyways, because she sounds like she's pretty miserable. So maybe you got out of a good one there. And I wish you luck in the rest of your career. It sounds like you're good at what you do if you can find somebody that's not nuts to work for. Matt Gleason, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.